Alright guys, welcome back. Welcome back to my video. In this video we will be talking about object-oriented programming or OOP. First of all, I want to say that object-oriented programming is a way to program, is is a concept behind a way of programming. Before PHP version 5, the language was substantially was a procedural language. Then they implemented object-oriented programming, which, for example, is widely implemented in Java, which is born for as a general purpose language. PHP is more like a web-oriented language, no? So it's not really the main important thing, but is something, is a style of programming. For second thing I want to say is what are the advantages of object-oriented programming is reusability, modularity, efficiency, and maintenance. Modularity means that the code is made in single parts, and that's exactly what you're going to do. Then last thing before another thing that I want to say is that object-oriented programming helps us to respect the principle of do not repeat yourself or dry. And sometimes in some guides you find this topic. Anyway, let's move into something more down to earth, which are actually classes, but it's the most simple example of object-oriented programming. Here we have a person which is an object in a way, no? Is what in every programming language would be an object, actually is a class, and the person has a name, a height, a color of the hair, a nationality, a color of the eyes, and he say hi to people. Okay, so it has attributes which are name, height, blah blah blah, and actually it has methods which are like functions, but they are applied to they are a method is a function, but is made from a class. Okay, so we have this class which is a blueprint of something. This is a blueprint. Then if I want, once I define my class, I can come here and I write person one. Person one, which extends person class, and so we define its name Luca, its height 178, and blah blah blah, and we define an instance of this class. This is the concept of class. There is a blueprint, and then we define instances. Okay, but we can moving on, we can even create what we can call it subclasses. For example, a person is a person, a teacher is a teacher, a student is a student, but both a student and a teacher are persons. This is, I think everybody did make this example anyway. A teacher, which is a class, and has attributes and methods, inherit person data. So all this data that we have in our person, we don't have to write it, but because they will just be inherited. And then they have a subject data in year of experience. And as you can see, we can even rewrite some of the functionality, because say hi now, it doesn't say hello, I am Luca, but he says hello, I am Luca, and I teach history. Okay, same for students. Same story. It's another subclasses, but is different. But is not a teacher. But they both share the same ancestor. Okay, and this is really the basic example of object-oriented programming. It will open a lot of conversation, a practical conversation of how to use classes. And then we will see interfaces, traits, and namespaces, and something else, which are still part of object-oriented programming, but maybe now everything that I'm saying sounds confusing. Giving you, coming back to what I said, the difference between a procedural programming style and an object-oriented programming style, I want to give you this example. Okay, here we have a function, a procedural function that prints a paragraph in HTML. So we have this function which echo a paragraph. That's it. And this is procedural because we implement the function, we create the function and we call the function. And as you see, it's quite simple compared to this, which to make the same thing in an object-oriented programming way, we define a class called HTML. The class has a public function. The class has a method which is the same, which is ph echo paragraph with text inside. Then we define an instance, and then we call the method of the instance. It's big, cioè it's if you have a look at this, you would say, okay, I write this. This procedural code works better, is faster to read, and easier to implement. But now I created another same story, but I now in procedural code we have the same thing, but I added also a div tag. Okay, so we have our div tag. We are using the function of before, and then we are printing this paragraph inside a div tag, a div container, a div wrapper, and a p paragraph. Okay, and it's becoming more complicated, a little more complicated. Still is acceptable. Here, this is a mistake because we have a name collision from upstairs, but it doesn't is not a problem. Here we have a class, objective programming way. We have our class. We have created our public function, which was ph, and a ph does this, and we even created a public function which is div, and div does this. And now we just need to call, since we created this class, HTML class, we just need to call the div method of the HTML class. As you can see, before, at the beginning, when the code was little and easy, the procedural code was winning as performance, as general performance, let's say, no, convenience. But now that is becoming bigger, the object-oriented programming code is working almost better. Imagine that the code keeps being in need of other public function. It will be a total, it will become better to have this class HTML implemented that keep communicating and sending messages through each class. So to recap, object-oriented programming is useful when code become when you're working with large projects that need to have a lot of functionalities, etc., etc. In the next videos, we will go into before we will go into the practical code of classes, and then we will see even something else. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next video.